What's up YouTube? Brian here with Silverfield Alpacas and welcome back to my YouTube channel, Royal Alpaca Productions. Stick with us just a minute. We're going to talk about skirting a Suri fleece for uniformity. All right, in vlog one, we talked about how to shear a fleece for show, a Suri blanket for show. We talked about three things that you're going to want your shear to do. So in that video, we saw Frank from Premium Harvest Shearing complete a show shear. And there were really three things that we looked at from that video. One is having a quality shear. So you're going to want to make sure that your shear takes the time to do the work, that you get two, no second cuts, and three, that they maximize that staple length by shearing as close to the animal skin as possible. In this video, we have Leanne Nakashima with Eldor Suri Alpacas. Now Leanne's been skirting Suri fleeces for 16 years. She has multiple Judges' Choice wins under her belt, multiple championships. She's won every single special award there is to win. She has mentored me personally into 2 Judges' Choice wins, a few championships, and 3 AOA Fleece Cups. The fleece she's working on in this video went on to win two reserve championships, one at Nationals and one at Suri Network in 2018, and also a Best Hand Award at the Cabo Classic last year. In the video, Leanne, we're only going to show skirting one half of the fleece. It is expected that you will skirt both halves of the fleece before submitting them into a show. What you do to one side, you do the exact same to the other side. So if you need help skirting the other half of your fleece, just go ahead and turn that fleece around on the table and watch the video again. If you like what you see, remember to subscribe to our channel, hit that thumbs up, comment below, and also there's a bell notification right about there. Go ahead and click that bell. That's going to notify you anytime we post a new video, and I promise you, you're not going to want to miss the next one. So without further ado, here we go. Skirting a Suri Alpaca fleece for uniformity.
Okay, so what we have here is a juvenile white or beige Suri fleece, and we're going to show you how to skirt it for uniformity. First, I'll start with an overview of what you're seeing here on the table. I have the fleece. This is a noodled fleece. It's laid out flat, cut side up. This is the top line of the animal going down the center here. On this end is the tail of the animal. These are the hips or back legs. And then as you progress along, we have the body of the animal on both sides. And right here, you can probably sort of see it. You have a little, this is the front armpits, and we've got it on this side too. That's one of the things that I use to try to find my way around a fleece to begin with. And then we have the front shoulders, and on this side, a little bit of the neck, tiny bit of the neck here, just the very base, right near the withers. And that's where it stops. So the best thing you can do for yourself when you start working on your fleeces is to noodle your fleeces at shearing, just like this, so that cut side is up, roll it up in a sheet of plastic like this. And then when you lay it out, first thing you do is find where you are on the map. Like lay the fleece out so you know where all the body parts are.
Right, get your orientation.
Get your orientation right, okay? Because that's going to help you a lot as you go. Now, on this particular fleece, I have already skirted one half of it. And the half that I've skirted is this half right here. And what I've done is I've gone from the neck all the way to the tail and pulled out any fleece that was not consistent with the mid-side center of the fleece or the prime area of the fleece. So I could have pulled it for reasons of it being locks being too short or not being fine enough to be consistent with the prime area of the animal. So this is what it looks like after I'm done. And this is what I've decided this fleece is needs to look like as a show fleece. And if you look over here to the side, this is the pile of what I call pulls. These are the blocks that I've pulled out for one reason or another. I mean, there could be contamination on there, such as urine, stains, poop, you know, that kind of stuff, or there could be locks that are too short, or they're just not fine enough to stay in the show fleece. So that's about how much we pulled off of this half of the fleece. And what I have left is a very uniform half of the fleece. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to start working on the other half, which isn't done. But before I start with that, I'm going to show you, I'm going to sort of take you around the edges and show you all of the things that catch my eye as being obvious pulls, okay, as fiber that we would pull from the fleece. This is, we're on the tail end of the fleece now, and this is some contamination that really I think is probably too offensive to leave in the fleece. It's going to cause it to smell, and you would lose points. You know, the fleece would lose points for impurities. So we're going to take some of this out, and then as I move around the edges, which is actually the edges are where you're going to be doing most of your pulls, I like to lay out the outside locks so I can see the edges really well. Okay, so as I move around, the next thing that catches my eye is, I don't know if you can see this or not, but I'll hold it with my fingers. This is the back arm, I call it the armpit. It's where the leg meets the belly, the back leg meets the belly. There's a little indentation that goes up in there, and this fleece is typically coarse, even on a juvenile. So I can tell right away that's probably I'm gonna need to give that some of my attention.
Right, you can definitely see.
You can really see the difference between this and the prime part of the fleece.
So that's a very good visual.
Yeah. I'm gonna show you some other things, another trick as we go. And then as I move around and I get to the tummy, I'm seeing a little bit of the same. Some more what I call tummy hairs that a little bit that will need to come off.
That coarse,
yeah,
more guard.
Those edges, those coarse edges. And as you move around this way, we're approaching the front armpit, and the front armpit, it goes from up here to down here to the front of the belly. So we have this is kind of one of the prime areas that is easy to miss because a lot of times when your fleece first gets rolled out on the table, it's turned upside down like that. And you might not even see it. So you want to make sure you flip everything up and look for those armpits, because I guarantee there's going to be stuff in there you want to take out. At least that's my opinion anyway. Coming around here, this doesn't look too bad, but coming up into the very top of the shoulder, there is a transition that you need to look for between the front shoulder and it's right around the base of the neck, and that's what we're looking at here, is some more coarse fleece that kind of goes up.
Yeah, right where those withers, right where that withers.
Yeah.
Are, yeah.
And then in the neck area, you really, that's kind of something that is, it's really difficult to leave neck fleece in a show fleece unless the staple length really is matches the rest of the fleece. So you want to kind of keep an eye on that. It's nice fleece, and it may be just as fine, but it's often doesn't have the length that we need, and we'll check that when we get down into some details, okay? Okay, I'm now going to show how I measure a fleece for, or different fleece samples for uniformity of fineness. So the first thing I do is I go to the mid-side center, which is right about here, because we got an armpit here, we have another armpit back here, and this is the top line, this is the tummy. So I'm gonna head right in here, and I'm going to take a small lock, try to remove a small lock without damaging the fleece. Okay, pull it very gently. Okay, all right, so this is mid-side center and basically as good as it gets on this fleece. So then I lay it out on a, this is a black piece of black t-shirt. I just had an old t-shirt, cut it up, and this is my little test pad for light fleeces. And when I'm doing dark fleeces, I use a white t-shirt. So now I'm going to spread out the cut side, or the cut end of the lock. This is the tip, and this is the cut end. And I'm going to very carefully spread it like a fan. And the purpose of doing that is so that we can actually see the individual fibers. Okay, and that's going to be our gauge for the most fine fibers in the fleece. Okay, you're going to have variation throughout any fleece. So you don't have to have the entire fleece exactly match that, but this is our baseline. This is what we're going to use to decide what to pull out of the fleece and what to leave in. Okay. All right. So I'm going to start, I guess I'll start right here at the tummy. And there's kind of a dead giveaway sometimes when you're looking at this, at your fleeces, as far as what needs to come out, because if you look closely here, you can see dirt. And, you know, this is the dirty part, and then whoa, all of a sudden it's nice and clean. And this is where your density starts, where your prime fleece starts. So anything down here in this neck of the woods is probably not going to be fine enough to remain in the fleece. It's not going to be as fine as this stuff up here. So, but let's just demonstrate that. We'll pull a piece out. This is also kind of a short piece, so
there's no uniformity of length.
Yeah, we'll talk about uniformity of length too, and I'll kind of show you in places to look for it on a fleece. But okay, here. Now I don't know if you can see both of these.
Yeah, there's an
but
obvious
there's
difference,
okay, there's an example of some very coarse edges that even if the lock was as long as this one, we would still want to pull that out. That's kind of
there's no uniformity of micron.
Right. Okay, so now as you go around the edges of your fleece, you're going to see a range from something like this to this. And then it's up to you to decide where do you stop? Where do you stop pulling stuff out? Because there's always a balance. If you pull a lot of fleece off, you may have a very uniform fleece, but then you're losing points for weight. So it's a little bit of a decision-making process as you go on, do I really want to pull this out, or should this stay in? Should it go? Should it stay? You know, sometimes if I'm not sure, I leave it in and wait till I get all the way around the fleece and then see where I'm at. So, okay, so this little wad or gob of fleece pretty much matches in look to this, so I'm gonna pull that out. I know that's just not gonna cut it. So out it comes. And now I'm getting a little closer to where the cut end of the locks are looking more like the center here, looking a little closer. And I think for now I'm gonna leave this section as is, because I'm pretty sure I'm happy. Well, wait a minute, I think I see something. This piece right here makes me wonder a little bit, so I'm gonna just pull this and measure it. I think it might be okay, but I'm just gonna go back to my little measuring sheet here and just see where am I at. So I think it's probably gonna be in between the really coarse one and this one, which it is. It's about midway in between. So that's where you as a skirter decide, do I leave it in? Do I take it out? And go from there. I see we don't match in length. Okay, so we're gonna talk more about uniformity of length later. I'll show you some tricks, but I think I'm gonna pull this out because
it doesn't match in micron.
It doesn't. It's more than half an inch difference, so you would lose maybe a half a point or a point if the judge happened to pick this lock up and use it for measuring uniformity of length. So, and that's typical down in the belly area. You're gonna find some shorter pieces. Okay, so I'm moving towards the front armpit now, and I see a pretty big chunk here, and this is kind of neat. The coarse stuff, if you watch me pull, I'm just going to gently pull it away from the fleece and put it back, okay, and then pull it again. It'll actually has a tendency to separate itself when the grade changes or the fineness of the fleece changes. So I'm going to use that as my guide and pull this much off, and then I'll start checking, because I know this stuff is, I know from experience this needs to come out. Okay, and as you go around your fleece, always go back to your little worksheet here and check yourself, because you could be going off the edge of the cliff in terms of fineness or coarseness. You might be going in the wrong direction. Not a bad idea to double check yourself as you go. Okay, I'm pulling some other little short pieces off as we go up the belly. Okay, actually make my pile right here. Okay. All right, now, so I've taken the worst of this part of the armpit out as far as coarseness goes. Maybe, let's take this out. I know this needs to come out. I'm taking it out, but I'm getting really close to being within good range of fineness right here. So I'm gonna just double check my edges. And I rely a lot on visual cues to tell when a lock needs to come out or not, or when it's coarse or not. And you may have these little transition areas where almost like one lock comes out, the one right next to it stays in. So I'm gonna leave that. That's looking pretty good. Okay, and now I'm moving in this direction around the fleece. And oh, by the way, if you happen to have little short pieces, like little 1-inch, what we call shorts, in your fleece, a lot of times they're going to be around these edges, or at the end, or in the armpits, up under the tail. You want to keep an eye out for those and pull those out. Okay, so this is an area on the bottom of the leg that I'm going to work on. And the leg is actually, this is a shoulder, not the leg. It's a lot of times it's not fine enough to leave it in, so you got to be, really double checking your fineness. These are coming out, I can tell right now. These need to come out. Okay. And as you move forward, we're going to transition into the very front end of the fleece, where your shearer might have left some, you're kind of getting almost into the chest area. So there's a lot of fleece in the chest area that isn't fine enough. It may look fine enough, but it's not. This one is a good example right here, where we have, this is the front shoulder, and as you move down, you're getting into where the chest is, and I can see as you look from the top down to the bottom, you've got lots of nice locking and luster and good looking stuff, and then all of a sudden it starts looking, even though it's clean, so we've got density here, we've got some areas in here that are just not fine enough to leave in, and we'll test that. We'll go back over to our let's see, I'll pull one lock. Sometimes in these areas I pull one lock at a time and test it until I'm happy with what I have. Okay, we'll lay it out. I'm gonna move this over. Okay. Okay, so this is looks very transitional to me. It's not close enough to this to stay in the fleece. It's really closer to this, which is that one really coarse piece of belly hair that we pulled out. So I think, since my goal with this fleece is to skirt for the best uniformity that I can, I'm going to pull this out. We have the length, we don't have the fineness right in this area, right over here, and it's probably going to be a pretty large area. Again, okay, this piece just separated itself, and this piece is consistent with the one I just tested. It was its neighbor. Okay. I'm just going to keep pulling till I'm happy with what I see. Okay, all right, now I'm still seeing a little bit of a transition here, but it's not as obvious. It's not as striking as it was before. It looks like it more closely matches up here in the prime fleece. So we'll leave it at that, and it does match in length. That's another important thing, is that these locks are nice and long. We're not dealing with little shorties. So, and here's a nice piece of hay. This obviously needs to come out. Anything bigger than anything the size of your thumbnail or bigger comes out. Okay, now up in the neck area, there's going to be pieces. Here's a good example where, wow, this is really pretty. It's really fine. Oh my gosh, look at that. It's so gorgeous, but let's check it for length. And when we lay it down next to the mid-side centerpiece, we've got probably about 1.5 inches difference. So you could lose a couple points, 3 points maybe for that. Heartbreaking as it is, there's a whole chunk here of shorties, little short, really beautiful locks, but just too short to leave in.
And to be fair, the shear on this animal took it, what, 1/3 of the way up the neck?
Yeah.
So he took a lot
Yeah.
of the neck in
Yeah.
this.
So
And that was by design.
That was by design because it's my job as a skirter to decide what stays in and what comes out. And it's easier to pull it out on the skirting table than it is to decide while it's on the animal. So we included this. It also gives you, when you shear, if you go beyond your edges that you normally would, or you ask your shearer to, it gives you more margins to work with, because the edges are always going to have little wonky cut pieces or butchered locks and stuff like that. You don't want that, but you're going to have to pull it out, and if you have a nice margin to work with, then you are able to leave more of the good fleece in, or the prime fleece. So this all looks, I'm gonna pull this off in stages until we get to a length that is looking like it's gonna work. Okay, here's a lock. Now we're getting into something that's a little closer to our mid-sight center.
Yep.
Yeah. So we're within about a ½ inch there. So this stays in. Well, let's check it for fineness, because that's always, on the... Okay, so this is a piece from the front end of the fleece near the neck that I just measured to see if it's within ballpark of our mid-side centerpiece, and it's a little shorter, but it looks pretty good. And it also looks like the fineness is very nice. It's within range of our mid-side centerpiece. So I'm gonna leave this in and then just double check what some other pieces. Yeah, we're pretty close right here. So I would go over this area, probably spend a little more time going over this area and checking for length to make sure I didn't leave any pieces in that are too short. So, okay. We have now gone over an entire half of a fleece checking for uniformity. And then I'll roll it up. So now we've finished skirting this fleece for uniformity, and we're going to take the camera around the edges of the fleece and show you how it looks.
Leanne, can you explain what that little pink spot is
Oh,
there?
that's a good question. Okay, so you may be able to see a slight difference in color tone between this area right here and this area here. It's sort of a pinkish color. That's a sweat stain. And basically this was near her, the sweat stains typically happen around the armpits. So this is near her rear armpit, where she got hot one day, or 2 days, or whatever. She was getting hot, and the sweat stains the fleece a little bit pink. I'm gonna leave it in because it's good fleece. I could lose points for impurities and stains, but I would rather just leave it in and see what happens.
ready to be shipped off.
Okay, so now what we're going to do is I'm going to roll it up, and we're sending this fleece as a noodle, or a noodled fleece. So we're going to show you how we do that. We have it laying cut side up on a regulation plastic. It's actually a regulation bag that's been cut open and spread out. So what?
It's a 33-gallon clear trash bag.
Right. Costco.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to fold the edges in a little bit. And then I start at this end. And what I like to do is I like to start with a fold on the end. And the tighter the roll, the more stable the fleece is going to be. But
Yeah.
I love noodled fleeces because they're just so easy to work on, and they don't get jumbled at the shows. They come back intact. You can show a noodled fleece over and over and over again and get more shows out of it. So it's the way to go, I think. Glad they changed the rules so we can do noodles. Okay. And there we are.
Ready to be shipped off.